development or preservation return, but we want to make sure they're spent wisely, and I think this is a good thing. You should really embrace that we want to make sure that every dollar is spent, under the close eye of a sound plan. Yes, I'm sorry, let me put something different. Okay, yes.
Do you have anything more defined than these? I find that these are a little bit vague, and I'm just wondering if you had any more defined plans, more specific. I'll give you an example of any other plans that you might have. You use any terms like, sustainable development policies such as smart growth, wildlands project,
No.
resilient cities,
No.
regional business project, green or alternative products.
Ma'am, I know where those words come from, and they are not part of our plan. That is a different plan, one that I found out about a month ago.
Okay, when you were developing this plan, what did you use for your consultation? Did you have a protocol that was, inherited through the state, or did somebody hand you a binder and you looked it up? How did it come about? I'm sorry, I might have come in a little bit late.
Yeah, you want to talk about cross acceptance?
We have a process that got us a draft that had high-level disagreements with local government. We audibled a bit because of the situation we found ourselves in. 7 years past the legislative due date of readopting the plan. And we made fundamental changes based on what we read as the disagreements across acceptance, the reports, and also we went through another stakeholder process to engage a whole different level of citizenry that hadn't been engaged in cross acceptance to basically streamline a 400-page plan down to 40 pages. A plan that had a lot of detail where you'd be able to kind of zoom down and know what the state wanted to do in your backyard, to a plan that's more broadly and recognizes the fact that local government does control that local land use. So from a consultative perspective, we used discretion to engage with groups of citizens that we thought should be involved in the process. And we did not go out to every door. We didn't survey. We didn't go. So we didn't do anything.
How did you get those things? Did they come to you?
Some of them came at the advice of folks, and some of them were known, representatives from advocacy groups that represent.
Like what kind of an advocacy group do you have?
We actually have a list of all the all the meetings.
Would it Clay be one of them?
No.
No.
And so the plan, it talks about exactly who the general groupings, and if anybody wants to engage us after this meeting, we have a spreadsheet of exactly.
And they range from developers to environmentalists to utilities folks to local government representatives. So we had a full range of our stakeholders. Yes, sir.
Well, I have a totally different type of question. My name is Kevin Brown from Montgomery Township. So the plan talks about pharmaceuticals and life science companies here, and that's sort of my world where I live in. And there's a lot of jobs being lost right now in those, especially in the research field.
My wife's
Biologists, chemists, a very narrowly defined position, and we're losing a ton of jobs here. And how, if you look in the plan, it does talk about New Jersey is the world's medicine chest, and we're losing our medicine chest here. And how are you guys going to help bring back the jobs here in New Jersey?
That's part of this plan, where we focus on industries that are here and are likely to either grow or maybe move in. Industries like that tend to like to move amongst other industries to exploit the talent pool and certainly the resources that are available. So that's really what we want to do, is to try and focus on existing industries that we have here that we know are likely to expand or maybe move in other companies. And we've been fairly successful so far. The government's done a great job of bringing outside headquarters into New Jersey. Granted, New Jersey has some challenges, and we're dealing with them. But part of our focus is to be able to put the investment in the areas, maybe there's infrastructure upgrades that need to happen for particular companies to come in. That's what I mean by the smart use of funds that already exist. You don't want to put a shopping center in the middle of the woods, where you're going to have to run through the roads.
New Jersey, there's a lot of
Right. That's not sustainable.
research and sustainable, usable
Right.
parks and so forth, where the bus systems are already in existence and
Exactly.
empty buildings.
Yeah,
So
so
we need jobs back.
Yeah, so it's nothing to say in this plan that we don't want to get those buildings occupied, and that's part of the strategy.
we'll take one more from the public comment. Shelley, yes.
Yes, I agree with those who find some of these terms vague, and what I would ask is that you post on your website some of the changes that you're making, so we have some transparency
As we
in this
will.
process. And then tell us when you're gonna do that, like the dates, so we know. And then make sure you define these terms if you can do that. I mean, are you planning on defining your terms and having like a glossary or dictionary, something like that?
Yeah, we've spoken about it. We're not gonna talk about the changes we're gonna make now because we still have 3 public hearings to go over tonight. So it wouldn't be fair to say we're gonna make these changes before we get all of the input. But we will be, considering those changes, and we'll make the ones that we hear, make the most sense and seem to resonate with folks. So that's what we're gonna do. We will review everything. Shelley, everything is on the table for us. And we're going in this with an open mind. We want the best product possible. Let's give it a feel too. So I think we're all on the same side, and we're gonna get there.
Listening to some people asking for additional meetings, I think there's also a request from posting things on our website as well.
Right. As we've done, this has been on the web since October, since the government announced it, and now the A&Rs are on there, and everything's on the website accessible. Thank you. One more, okay, and then we'll go to the public comment.
What type of new incentives are going to be provided for these transit hubs and small growth areas
For the transit hubs themselves,
that were not there before?
yeah, I mean, that's very specific, and that's part of the action plans that the agency is going to be developing. And, those are details you have to work out once the plan is in place. This is the framework. Now we're going to fill in the details as far as the agency action plans. That's really the key to making this work.
And how would they decide on spending on a transit hub versus tax incentives and bringing new business?
Well, you may be confusing 2 things. Tax incentives are a different section of government. We're really looking at developing the infrastructure and physical development as we go into bringing the business. So with that, we don't have the room for all night. So if we can get started with the public hearing, we should go right into it. And let me give you the ground rules of how we do this, just to keep it orderly. The last meeting was a gem. It really worked well, and I want to repeat that. I'm hoping lightning will strike 4 more times. I ask you to keep your comments 5 minutes, please. We really want to make sure that we can hear from everybody. Dan's going to call your name and then speak, and then we'll be sure to get everybody home in a decent hour and also be sure that everybody's heard. We're not going to answer any questions here now. We want to hear from you. We want to hear from us, and we don't want to cut into your time. If you have any other questions, there's going to be staff around the room, and they would be happy to answer your questions. Dan and I are very accessible in our offices. You can submit written comments up to March 31st, provided you don't have any snowstorms to cancel one of the meetings. Tonight, you can submit written comments, and we really want to hear. Written comments are very valuable because we have something to refer to when we review the meeting content. So whatever you choose is fine, but that's always a viable option. Also, there's going to be no ceding of time. So if you use 4 minutes and 40 seconds, you can't throw your 20 seconds over to your panel on the side. So that, again, keeps the meeting orderly. And please stick to the topic. And I know folks get passionate about certain things, but we're here just to talk about the state strategic plan, not any other plan or initiative or any other issue within the state, the county, or local government. So I ask you please to keep your comments, and if you start to diverge a little bit, I'll bring you back in, okay? So with that, oh, I'm sorry. Yes? Forgive me. I'd like to introduce a few of the folks who are here from the State Planning Commission. We have John Eskelson. You just raise your hand. Ken Albert. Ken, there you go. Tom Mishnowitz, let's see you. Tom. We have some of the folks from state government here. And this is really valuable because they get to hear firsthand rather than Dan and I trying to translate what we heard, especially for the effects their department. We have Karen Franzini from the EDA.
I'm also the
I'm sorry, and also a member of the SPC. Mark Larkins over here. And DOT, Jim Lewis from DOT. Well, you guys are hiding so well. Greg Aquaviva from the Lieutenant Governor's Office. And everybody. Oh, Vivian Baker. Vivian, holy cow, you're hiding out here. And from our staff, the Office of Planning Advocacy, Barry Eagleman, we have Alan Miller, all the way in the back, and Carl Harkov behind the pole. So with that, let the games begin.
All right, we have a request of you guys. She needs to sit on schedule, so.
Thank you, I'm glad that kept you. I'm Kim Gary, I'm environmental justice coordinator for the New Jersey Environmental Federation and the New Jersey State Council of Clean Water Action, and I'm also the chair of the City of Newark Environmental Commission. And it's good for the state to have an economic development plan. We want good jobs and bring businesses in the state. We want to attract new research and development, innovations, and more. But using this plan to take the place of the existing state plan is not the right approach. The state strategic plan does not consider where the right and wrong places are to build, grow the economy, businesses from an environmental perspective. It does not consider the carrying capacity of the state, that is the ability of the environment to sustain existing development and or growth. The state is 15+ years overdue in producing a water supply master plan. Sewer service areas have not been completed, mitigating against more frequent flooding, storms, saltwater intrusion, and etc. The plan also does not protect and enhance the natural and built environment. It just outlines concepts of economic development. The plan removes any form of real public participation at the local or regional level. I heard what you said, but my interpretation of my speech. I want Newark to decide and grow in our vision for sustainability. Right now, we're currently in the process of completing a sustainability action plan for the first time in the city. We are in the midst of actually redoing our master plan that hasn't been done in 30+ years in the city. And now we're coming up with what the state was trying to do. And Northers, I'm a 4th generation Norther, so I know what's best for my community. And so when you come up with these kind of decisions, it's not right if the citizens are speaking for what they think is better for their community and their environment. The state strategic plan may supersede existing regional plans, like the Highlands and Highland Act. And we all know that the city of Newark has the best water in the state. Newark watershed is the home of 4.5, it serves 4.5 million people. We have 35,000 acres up in West Milford. And so our forefathers were smart enough to keep our reservoir away from our city. And so it's important for us to keep our water pristine. It's important for us to protect our most precious resource, that is our watershed. And I don't see that in this. And so these are some of my concerns. I took some notes down real quickly. I will write up something and submit it, but I just felt that, you were in my hometown, and I needed to come down and express some of these concerns that we are experiencing here in the city of Newark.
Great, thank you very much. George Hathaway.
Whoa!
Now you can't see.
Yeah, just dazzled. I represent a group called Advocates of Sustainability. And I'd like to echo even what you said, and as part of my comments, even though we may not be in agreement on some of the details, one of the things we really do believe is that the decision-making needs to be local. The people who are part of the process, who are impacted by the process, are the ones that need to make decisions. And frankly, what we saw here was a pretty top-down approach. I heard what you said, but that's not what I read in the plan. And so I agree with her. Basically, we took a look at the plan, just also as a way of introduction. We will be submitting to you and Lieutenant Governor and others an alternative plan. So we took your plan and we rewrote it. And we'll be supplying to that to you in due course. We want to get a few other people who agree with us to take a look at it to make sure that it at least makes sense from our standpoint. So you'll get that. Okay? Probably within the next 2 or 3 weeks. Okay. We took a look at it from really 4 standpoints. One of fiscal responsibility, issues of personal responsibility, issues of government working best when it's closest to the people, as we were talking about over here, and a belief that natural rights, as perceived by our founders and of the nation as well as the state of New Jersey, belief that those natural rights, including property rights, are still valid. Among these, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, and we know the founders, when they talked about life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, they meant property. In terms of fiscal responsibility, we believe that the state needs to live within its means. We've heard lots of words about incentives. We don't really know where those incentives are coming from. You talked about return on investment, yet we saw no cost-benefit analysis. We don't know what the definition of return on investment on. We don't know even what percentage it's going to be. So we don't know what we're going to get for the investments that you're making. And if we don't know that, how can we subscribe to the plan? Specifically, you talk about giving redevelopment credits to public corporations to develop land, which means that other people are going to have to give up their rights. We feel that this is really a violation of the whole concept of the eminent domain. Will reduce the property rights of squeezing the property values of adjacent lands, and it's nothing more than an incentive for developers to develop and not to preserve the rights of the people who are actually living there next to those developments or close to those developments. We want to know how many actual jobs will be in those growth investment areas. We know that some of those don't have very many jobs now. When we're talking about Newark, what is the projection for Newark? How many jobs are going to be created in Newark, and what kind of industries are going to be there? We don't know that. We don't have any figure. We don't have any concept of what that's going to be. The plan talks about making housing affordable. Got to have affordable housing everywhere. Well, where's that money going to come from? And what's it going to do to the price and cost and value of property and housing in those areas where you're going to incentivize? And I know some of this is legal. Some of the courts have said we've got to do that. But I don't see the need for the state development plan to look at affordable housing. You're looking towards, and you make specific mention of enforcing EPA and DEP environmental regulations. Why does the state, again, to what I was talking about before, what is the cost of doing that, and what are we going to get from it? So we want to see that kind of analysis. We do believe that the citizens are smart enough to make the decisions for themselves and should be given the opportunity to do so. I didn't see that in the one. I did not see property advocacy groups in the groups that made comments to the development of this plan. Now I might be wrong, but I didn't see any property rights advocacy groups there. So lots of other advocacy groups, but nobody representing the property owners of this state. We want to see that.
Yep.
How many minutes do we want?
We're knocking on 5.
Okay. Lastly, sustainability. I know you said you gave a very specific definition of sustainability here. It's not consistent with the definition of sustainability that you have in the plan itself, okay, which deals with economic, social, and environmental issues on an equal footing. And I don't see where the state plan, which to me focuses on economic development, redevelopment, needs to look at the social engineering concepts, social equity, environmental equity. That's something that the legislature needs to be doing, not you or others at a state level on a planning basis. So I don't believe that.
Thank you very much, George. Thank you.